Hey everyone, welcome back. So today, we're diving into something that's been showing up in my inbox a lot lately. And honestly, it's making me question everything about how our reality actually works. We're talking about people receiving text messages from deceased relatives, sometimes years after they've passed away. And before you jump to explanations about scheduled messages or phone glitches, wait until you hear some of these stories. Because the content of these messages, the timing, the impossibility of the technical side, it's all just deeply unsettling. Let's start with this one that came in just last week. Story 1, The Birthday Text. From Mom, by you, Quiet Storm, Twin 23. I need to share this because I'm still shaking. And it's been 3 days. My mom passed away in March 2021. Cancer. We had time to say goodbye, which I'm grateful for. But it doesn't make it easier, you know. She was my best friend. We texted every single day. Good morning messages, random memes, pictures of food we were eating. Just constant contact. After she died, I couldn't bring myself to delete our text thread. I'd scroll through it sometimes when I missed her. Her phone was disconnected about 6 months after she passed. My dad handled all that. The number doesn't even exist anymore. When you try to call it, you get that "this number is no longer in service" message. So last Thursday was my birthday. My 32nd birthday, to be exact. The first one without her was brutal, but this year I was doing okay. I went to work, had lunch with friends, normal day. At 3:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text message. It was from Mum, not her old number. That shows up in my phone as just digits now since the line's disconnected. This showed up as Mom, with her contact photo and everything. The message said, "Happy birthday, sweetheart. 32 looks beautiful on you. I'm so proud of the woman you've become. That promotion you're worried about. You're going to get it. Trust me. Love you to the moon and back." I literally dropped my phone. When I picked it up, hands shaking, the message was still there. Still showing as from Mom in our original text thread, time-stamped 3:47 p.m., right there under our last exchange from February 2021. Here's the thing that really messed me up. Nobody else knows I applied for a promotion. I haven't told anyone. Not my husband, not my dad, not my best friend. I literally submitted the application the morning of my birthday, about an hour before I left for work. It was a spontaneous decision I'd been debating internally for weeks. I immediately called my dad, thinking maybe somehow he'd gotten access to her old account or something. He was at the grocery store, had no idea what I was talking about. I checked with my carrier. They confirmed that number has been completely defunct since September 2021. There's no way a message could originate from it. But it's there, in my phone. I've screenshot it probably 50 times because I'm terrified it'll disappear. My husband has seen it. It's real. I don't know what to think. I'm a software developer. I understand how technology works. This shouldn't be possible. But it happened. And honestly, I got the promotion call yesterday. How do you explain that? That one really gets to me every time I read it. The specificity of that promotion detail. That's what makes these stories so unsettling. All right, here's another one that came in through email. Story 2, Dad's Directions, by Anonymous. This is short, but I can't stop thinking about it. My father died in 2019. Heart attack while driving. Thankfully, he managed to pull over and didn't hurt anyone else. We were close, but not super close, if that makes sense. Saw each other on holidays. Talked maybe once a month. 2 months ago, I was driving to a job interview in a city I'd never been to before. My GPS died, like completely black screen, phone overheating, the works. I'm on some back road trying to figure out where I am, getting increasingly panicked because this interview was important. My phone suddenly cools down and buzzes. Text from Dad's old number. Take the next left, 2 miles, then right at the red barn. You'll see the building after the water tower. I just sat there for probably 30 seconds, staring at it. Then I figured, what the hell? I'm already lost. I followed the directions. They were perfect. Led me straight to the interview location with 5 minutes to spare. When I looked at my phone after the interview, the message was gone. Not deleted, I mean gone, like it never existed. No record in my text history, no notification in my notification center. Nothing. I got the job, by the way. I still drive by that red barn sometimes, just to convince myself it really happened. You know, the theme I'm noticing with a lot of these is that the messages seem to come exactly when they're needed most. Let me share this next one. It's a bit longer, but the details are incredible. Story 3. The Group Chat Visitor by you, Midwest, Mama 45. I'm a rational person. I'm a nurse. I believe in science, and I don't buy into supernatural stuff. But I cannot explain what happened in our family group chat last month. My sister Emma died in a car accident in 2018. She was 26. We kept her in the family group chat. Mom, Dad, me, my brother Jake, and Emma. Nobody could bring themselves to remove her, you know. Her little profile picture is still there. This goofy selfie she took wearing sunglasses indoors. October 15th was a normal Tuesday. I was at work, specifically in the break room eating lunch and scrolling through my phone. The family chat had been quiet all morning, which was unusual. Then at 12:34 p.m., Emma started typing. Those 3 dots appeared under her name. I nearly choked on my sandwich. The dots appeared and disappeared several times over about 2 minutes. Then a message came through. Tell Mom the recipe is in the blue box, not the green one. Then immediately another. Jake, check your brake fluid, this week. And another. Dad, call Uncle Tony. And finally, love you all, always here. I immediately called Jake, completely freaking out. He'd seen it too. We both called our parents. Everyone had seen the messages in real time. We were all watching those typing dots, seeing the messages appear one by one. Here's where it gets stranger. Mom had been looking for Emma's chocolate chip cookie recipe all morning for a church bake sale. She'd been going through the green recipe box in the kitchen. The blue box was in the basement, and sure enough, the recipe was there, in Emma's handwriting. Jake took his car in the next day. The mechanic said his brake fluid was dangerously low, and there was a small leak in the line. Could have caused brake failure within days. Dad called Uncle Tony, who he hadn't spoken to in 2 years because of some stupid family fight. Tony had just been diagnosed with cancer and hadn't told anyone yet. They reconciled. Dad's been driving him to treatments. We all still have the messages. They're still in the group chat, sitting there under Emma's name with her profile picture, time-stamped 12:34 p.m., October 15th, 2024. The phone company says her number was reassigned to someone in California in 2019. That person has had no issues with their account and didn't send any messages that day. My brother hired some tech expert friend to look at it. He said the messages definitely originated from Emma's old number, which should be impossible. The metadata shows they were typed in real time, not scheduled or delayed. They just happened. We've been waiting to see if she'll message again. Every time someone starts typing in the family chat, we all hold our breath for a second. So far, nothing. But those 4 messages are still there, and we all have them screenshot about 100 times. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in an afterlife. But I believe my sister sent us those messages because I saw it happen. We all did. How is that possible? See, this is what keeps me up at night. Multiple witnesses, verifiable information that couldn't have been known, and physical evidence that remains on the devices. This next story is even more elaborate. It involves an entire conversation that shouldn't have been possible. Story 4. 20 Minutes with Grandpa by U. Bookish, Ben 1990. I've spent the last 8 months trying to make sense of this. I've considered every explanation from mental breakdown to elaborate prank to carbon monoxide poisoning. None of them fit. So I'm just going to tell you what happened, and maybe someone out there has experienced something similar. My grandfather died in January 2020, right before the pandemic hit. He was 93, sharp as a tack until the end. We were incredibly close. He basically raised me after my parents died when I was 12. He taught me everything. How to fish, how to play chess, how to fix cars, how to be a decent human being. Losing him broke something in me that I'm still trying to repair. He was also hilariously bad with technology. Could never figure out his flip phone, let alone smartphones. We got him an iPhone in 2018, and he used it exclusively to call me and occasionally take blurry photos of his garden. He definitely never learned to text. We tried to teach him, but he'd just get frustrated and hand the phone back. Fast forward to August 17th, 2024. I'm having a particularly bad day. Work stress, relationship problems, just everything piling up. I'm sitting in my apartment at around 8 p.m., honestly considering quitting my job and just starting over somewhere else. My phone is on the coffee table, and I see the screen light up. Text from Grandpa. Not from his old number. That was disconnected years ago. The contact card just said, Grandpa, with no number attached. I don't even know how that's possible, technically. The message said, "You look tired, kiddo." I literally jumped off the couch. Looked around my empty apartment like an idiot. Heart racing, hands shaking, the works. I stared at the phone for probably a full minute before picking it up. I typed back, "Grandpa." 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, "Hey Ben, been a while." What followed was a 20-minute conversation that I have screenshot every single bit of because I knew nobody would believe me otherwise. He talked exactly like my grandfather. Same phrases, same way of shortening certain words. Even made the same joke about my ex-girlfriend that he used to make when he was alive. But here's what really convinced me. It was him. He brought up the chess problem. When I was 15, we were working through this famous chess problem called the Polish Immortal. We'd spent weeks on it, and right before he went into the hospital for the last time, he said he'd figured it out, but wanted me to work on it more myself. He died before he could tell me the solution. In the text conversation, he said, "You ever solve that Polish problem?" I said no. He then texted me the exact sequence of moves to solve it. I had my chessboard right there. I set it up and followed his instructions. It was the solution. I checked online afterward. He was right. But more than that, he explained it the way he would have explained it, with the same terminology he always used, referencing games we'd studied together years ago. We talked about other things too. He told me not to quit my job, that the stress was temporary, but the regret would last. He mentioned my grandmother, said she was keeping him company. He even asked about his garden. The new owners of his house had apparently let it go to hell, which he found amusing rather than upsetting. At 8:22 p.m. he sent, "Gotta go, kiddo. You're gonna be fine. Trust the process like I taught you. Knight to Bishop 4." that was it. The entire conversation just vanished from my phone. Not deleted, gone, like it never happened. Except I had taken screenshots of every single message as they came in, paranoid that I was hallucinating or something. Those screenshots are still in my phone. They're dated, time-stamped, everything. Knight to Bishop 4 wasn't about chess. When I was learning to drive, terrified of highway merging, he'd always say that. It meant look for your opening and take it confidently. No hesitation. I didn't quit my job. Things got better within a month. New management, new project, whole different atmosphere. I'm still there now, actually got promoted last month. I've shown the screenshots to 3 different tech experts. One said they were fake until he looked at the metadata. Then he just shrugged and said he had no explanation. Another spent 2 hours examining my phone and finally just said, "This shouldn't exist." The third one, an older guy who'd been in tech since the 80s, looked at them for about 10 minutes and then very quietly asked if I'd ever experienced anything else like this. When I said no, he just nodded and said, "Consider yourself lucky." My therapist thinks I'm either lying or had some kind of break with reality, but she can't explain the screenshots. Nobody can. I check my messages every night around 8 p.m. now. Nothing since August. But sometimes, when I'm really struggling with something, I think about Knight to Bishop 4 and just make the move. I still don't know what to make of any of this, but I know what I experienced. And I know my grandfather helped me one last time when I really needed it. Explain that. You know, before we continue with more stories, I want to ask you something. Have you ever received a message, text, email, whatever, that felt like it came at exactly the right moment? Like the universe was trying to tell you something? Drop a comment and let me know. I ask because, well, about 3 years ago I got a text from an unknown number that just said, "Check your tire pressure now." No context, nothing else. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. Front left tire had a nail in it and was about to blow. Would have happened on the highway during my commute. Still have no idea who sent that text. The number was disconnected when I tried to call it back. Anyway, let's get back to these stories, because this next one involves not just a message, but an impossible phone call. Story 5. The Video Call That Couldn't Happen by Yu Digital Nomad 2019. I'm a computer programmer, so I need you to understand that I've gone through every possible technical explanation for this. I've analyzed logs, checked servers, consulted with colleagues who specialize in telecom infrastructure. There's no explanation that makes sense. My brother Marcus died in Afghanistan in 2011. Military convoy hit an IED. He was 24. We were twins, had that whole weird twin connection thing our whole lives. When he died, it felt like half of my soul got ripped away. This happened on June 3rd, 2024, which would have been our 37th birthday. I was working from home, deep in code, when my phone rang. FaceTime call from Marcus. Not a contact named Marcus, not his old number. The caller ID literally showed his face. A photo I'd never seen before, him in military gear but smiling, older than when he died. He looked 37. I answered it. I don't know why. Maybe muscle memory, maybe shock, maybe hope. The screen was staticky at first, like bad connection. Then it cleared, and there he was. My brother, looking exactly how he would have looked if he'd lived. Same scar above his left eyebrow, same crooked smile, but with crow's feet around his eyes and some gray in his hair. "Happy birthday, bro," he said. I couldn't speak, literally couldn't make words come out. He laughed, that same stupid laugh he'd had since we were kids. I know this is weird. I don't have long. Just wanted to see your face. Marcus, I finally managed. Yeah, it's me. Sort of. It's complicated. The image flickered. Look, I need you to know something. That guilt you're carrying. About the argument before I deployed. Let it go, man. I was being an ass. You were right about everything. The argument he was referring to. I'd never told anyone about it. We'd fought about him re-enlisting. Said horrible things to each other. The last words I'd said to him in person were, I hope you're happy with your decision. Cold. Angry. I've regretted them for 13 years. How is this possible? I asked. I don't know, honestly. I just sometimes can reach through. Birthday felt important. The static was getting worse. Hey, remember the time capsule? We'd buried a time capsule in our backyard when we were 10. Planned to dig it up when we turned 30. After he died, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Dig it up, he said. There's something in there you need to see. Also, call Mom more. She misses us both. Marcus, wait. The call dropped. When I looked at my phone, there was no record of the call in my history. No FaceTime log. Nothing in my phone bill later. But I had been recording my screen for a programming tutorial I was making. The recording caught everything. His face, his voice, the entire 2-minute conversation. I drove to our childhood home that afternoon. The new owners were cool about letting me dig in the backyard. Found the capsule right where we'd buried it. Inside, among baseball cards and toy soldiers, was a letter Marcus had added without telling me. Dated the day before we buried it, addressed to future Tom. The letter said, if you're reading this alone, know that I'm still with you. Twins forever, even if one of us is gone. P.S. It wasn't your fault. He was 10 when he wrote that. I've watched the screen recording probably 1,000 times. I've had it analyzed by video experts. It's not AI, not a deepfake. The compression artifacts are consistent with an actual FaceTime call from 2024. The aging progression on his face is perfect. Even has the same mole on his neck. Slightly larger, like they get with age. I call my mom every Sunday now. Sometimes when the phone rings and I see an unknown number, my heart still races for a second. He hasn't called again, but that one conversation on our birthday, it changed everything. Let me finally forgive myself. I don't need to understand how it happened. I just needed it to happen. All right, so check this out. This one's different because it involves someone who's technically still alive, but in a coma. Story 6, Messages from the In-Between, by you roommate, Trouble. My roommate Sarah has been in a coma since a skiing accident in February 2024. Traumatic brain injury. She's shown minimal response to stimuli, and doctors say her chances of waking up decrease every month. But she texts me. Started 3 weeks after the accident. Simple stuff at first. Water the plants, or fed the cat. Things I was already doing, but it was still terrifying to see her name pop up on my phone. Her phone is in a drawer in our apartment, turned off. I checked it after the first message. Dead battery. Hasn't been charged since the accident. The messages got more complex over time. Last week she texted, "Tell Mom about the box under the bed. She needs those papers for insurance." I looked. There was a box under her bed I'd never noticed, full of documents her mom actually did need for an insurance claim related to the accident. Her mom had been looking for them everywhere. Yesterday, she sent, "I can see you but can't get back. It's like being underwater. Don't let them pull the plug. I'm trying so hard to surface." Her family is considering removing life support next month. The messages come from her number, but show as iMessage. even though her phone is off. Apple says that's technically impossible. What do I do with this information? How do I tell her parents? Who would believe me? The messages feel real. They sound like her. They contain information only she would know. Is she somehow conscious, trapped, using some connection we don't understand to reach out through the digital world? I'm terrified they'll stop if she dies. I'm terrified they'll continue if she dies. This is a nightmare I can't wake up from. This next one goes in a completely different direction. It's about receiving messages from yourself. Story 7, Texts from My Dead Timeline, by Physics, Prof 82. I have a PhD in theoretical physics, so I'm approaching this from a scientific perspective, though I admit I'm grasping at straws for any rational explanation. My wife, Lillian, died in a car accident on November 10th, 2022. Drunk driver ran a red light. She was coming home from her sister's house. I was supposed to pick her up, but I'd gotten caught up grading papers and told her to just drive herself. That decision haunts me every single day. On November 10th, 2023, exactly 1 year later, I received a text from my own phone number. Not a spoofed number that looked like mine, but literally from my own number to my own number, which shouldn't be possible. The text said, "She lived in this timeline. We picked her up. She's asking why you're not answering your phone." I immediately called my own number, which just gave me a busy signal. Then more texts started coming through, all from my own number. "Why aren't you responding?" "Lily's worried." "We're at home now. She made that pasta thing you like. Are you getting these? The connection feels wrong. Something's different. You feel different, like you're not really there." Then finally, "I think I understand now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The messages stopped for about an hour. Then one more came through. "Take care of her there. You." But here's the part that made me question everything I understand about reality. Each message contained a photo attachment. The photos showed me and Lillian, but recent. Her with gray streaks in her hair she never lived to get. Me without the grief weight I've carried for a year. Pictures in our house but with furniture arranged differently. A photo of us at her nephew's graduation, which happened 6 months after she died. The metadata on the photos shows they were taken on devices that don't exist. Model numbers that Apple hasn't released. Timestamps that read normally, but don't correspond to any actual dates when converted to Unix time. I've considered parallel universes, quantum messaging, timeline bleeds. All the theoretical physics explanations that sound like science fiction, but have mathematical models behind them. The many worlds interpretation would suggest infinite timelines where every possible outcome occurs. Maybe in one of them, I did pick her up that night. Maybe that version of me somehow found a way to send a message across the gap between worlds. Or maybe I'm just a grieving husband whose mind created an elaborate delusion. Except the photos are still on my phone. They're still impossible. They still show a life I don't get to live. I haven't received any messages since that day. I've tried responding to my own number countless times. Nothing goes through. But sometimes, when I'm really missing her, I look at those photos of the life where she lived, and I feel, I don't know, grateful that somewhere, in some timeline, some version of us got to grow old together. It doesn't make the pain better, but it makes it different somehow. If parallel universes exist, and if information can bleed between them, then maybe death isn't as final as we think. Maybe we're all alive somewhere, in some timeline, sending messages across the void to versions of ourselves that need to hear them. Or maybe I'm just a physics professor who's lost his mind along with his wife. I honestly don't know which possibility scares me more. Okay, one more, before we take a different direction. This one just came in yesterday, and it's brief, but genuinely disturbing. Story 8. The group message by You Watch Senior Care Anon. I work at a memory care facility. Last Tuesday, 12 different residents' families received the same text at exactly 2:47 a.m. We're all together now. The door is open. Don't grieve for empty shells. Every single text came from their loved one's phone number. Problem is, 8 of those residents had already passed away, some of them years ago. The 4 still living have advanced Alzheimer's and haven't been capable of using phones for months. All 12 phones were accounted for, either disconnected, in storage, or locked in our security office. None had been accessed. The families have been calling non-stop. We have no explanation. The building's security footage shows nothing unusual at 2:47 a.m. But the temperature logs show every single room dropped to exactly 52 degrees for exactly 1 minute at that time. I've worked in memory care for 15 years. I've seen a lot of unexplainable things, but this coordinated message from 12 different sources. Management is calling it a technical glitch. The phone company is investigating. But I was there at 2:47 a.m. doing rounds, and I swear I heard them all talking in the common room. Clear as day, full conversations, laughter even. When I opened the door, the room was empty and silent. 3 of the families have pulled their loved ones from our facility. I don't blame them. I'm considering resigning. Because if those messages really came from where I think they came from, then what exactly are we taking care of here? Empty shells. That phrase won't leave my head. You know, I've been collecting these stories for 3 years now, and the ones about messages from the deceased consistently shake me more than any other type of glitch. Maybe it's because we all have someone we'd give anything to hear from one more time. My grandmother passed in 2019, and I still catch myself wanting to call her when something good happens. Never gotten a mysterious text from her, but sometimes I wonder if I'm just not paying attention to the right signals. Speaking of signals, let me share this next batch of stories that deal with a different kind of impossible communication. Story 9. The email that keeps sending, by you IT consultant Toyuan 20. My grandmother died in 2016. She was 91, lived a full life, passed peacefully in her sleep. We were close, but not unusually so. I'd visit her once a month, call every couple weeks. She barely understood email, but had learned to send them because she knew I preferred it to phone calls. After she died, my uncle closed all her accounts, including her email. I know because I helped him do it. We went through the whole process with Google, provided the death certificate, had the account permanently deleted. This was in June 2016. Starting in January 2024, I began receiving emails from her old address. The first one just said, "Testing, testing. Is this thing working? Love, Grandma." I figured someone had claimed her old email address. It happens. But when I replied asking who this was, the response chilled me. "It's me, sweetie. I know this must be confusing. Do you remember the cardinal? When I was 7, a cardinal flew into her kitchen window and died. I was devastated. She helped me bury it in a little shoebox in her garden, and we planted marigolds on top. She said cardinals were messengers from heaven, and this one had delivered its message and gone home. I've never told anyone that story. It wasn't significant enough to share, just a small moment between us. I didn't reply for 3 days. Then another email arrived. I know you're scared. That's okay. I just wanted you to know about Richard. Richard was the name she'd picked for the son she miscarried in 1952, before my father was born. She told me about him once, when I was 16 and going through something difficult. She never told anyone else in the family, said it was too painful for my grandfather when he was alive, and after he died, it felt like their secret to keep. The emails continued, about once a week. They contained recipes she never wrote down, including the exact secret ingredient in her famous chocolate cake, a tablespoon of mayonnaise, which sounds gross but works. The location of money she'd hidden in her house that we never found, inside the false bottom of her sewing kit. My uncle checked, and there was $3,000 in cash from the 1980s. Medical information about my grandfather's family that helped me identify a hereditary condition. I've since been tested for details about her childhood in Poland that she'd never shared, including the name of the village her family left in 1938, right before the war. But here's what really convinced me. Something impossible was happening. In March 2024, she sent, "Tell your father to get his heart checked. The left side. Tell him I said it's not indigestion." My father hadn't mentioned feeling sick, but I convinced him to see a doctor, using the emails as leverage. He had 90% blockage in his left anterior descending artery. The widowmaker could have dropped dead any moment. He had surgery the next week. The emails come from her exact old address, the one that was deleted 8 years ago. Google says the account doesn't exist. When IT professionals try to trace them, they hit dead ends. The headers show origination points that don't correspond to any actual servers. I tried setting up filters to catch them, but they bypass everything. They just appear in my inbox, always marked as important, always when I need them most. Last week's email said, "The veil is thinner than you think. Science will catch up eventually. Save these messages. Someone will need to see them someday. Give your father my love. The Cardinal sends its regards." I've saved every email, printed them too, just in case. My therapist thinks I'm having a breakdown. My father thinks it's a miracle. My uncle thinks someone is playing an elaborate, cruel joke. But I know my grandmother's voice. I know her syntax, her weird, mixed metaphors, her tendency to capitalize random words for emphasis. These emails are from her. I don't know how, but they are. The Cardinal reference gets me every time. Because now, whenever I see a cardinal, I get an email within 24 hours. That's not confirmation bias. That's a pattern. That's a message system I don't understand, using rules I can't explain. But it's real. And she's still looking out for us, somehow, from somewhere. All right. This next one is quick but genuinely unsettling. Story 10. The Contact That Won't Delete, by you, Android user, Nen99. My best friend Jamie died by suicide in 2020. I've tried to delete his contact from my phone hundreds of times since then. It won't delete. I press delete, confirm, and it disappears. Then I close contacts and reopen. He's back. Same photo, same number, same everything. I've factory reset my phone 3 times. Changed phones entirely twice. Different operating systems. Android to iPhone, back to Android. He's always there. First contact alphabetically. Aardvark. Stupid nickname from college. Last month, the contact updated itself. New photo I've never seen. Him, but older. Smiling. Wearing a shirt that says, "I'm okay now." His sister says she doesn't recognize the photo. No one does. Reverse image search finds nothing. The number still goes to disconnected service. But the contact remains. Updating itself. Yesterday, the job field changed from architect to guardian. I've stopped trying to delete it. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Maybe some connections transcend death. Maybe our phones know something we don't. Or maybe I'm just not ready to let go, and somehow my subconscious is preventing the deletion. But I've watched tech support try to remove it. They can't explain why it won't stay gone. Some data persists, one technician said, looking troubled, even when it shouldn't. Jamie would have found that hilarious. He always said death was just another form of persistence. I think he might have been right. Here's where things get really complex. This next story involves multiple family members and impossible coordination. Story 11, The Christmas Morning Conspiracy, by you, 3 states away. This is long, but I need to document everything while it's still fresh. This happened on Christmas morning 2023, and my entire family is still processing it. Background: my mother died in September 2018 after a long battle with ALS. By the end, she could only communicate through an eye gaze computer, and even that became impossible in her final weeks. She was the heart of our family, the one who organized everything, remembered everyone's birthdays, kept all the traditions alive. Christmas was her favorite holiday. After she died, we've tried to maintain traditions, but it's been hollow. We go through the motions for the grandkids, but the magic is gone. My dad especially has struggled. He moved out of their house, couldn't bear the memories. Christmas Eve 2023, we all stayed at my sister Rachel's house. Dad, me, Rachel, our brother Tom, and all our kids. 7 grandchildren total, ages 4 to 16. We did our usual Christmas Eve stuff, put the kids to bed. Then the adults stayed up drinking wine and sharing mom memories. Got maudlin, honestly. Dad said something about how mom would hate how we've let her traditions slip. We went to bed around 2 a.m., feeling pretty melancholy. At exactly 6 a.m. Christmas morning, all of our phones started pinging, continuously. Every adult and the 3 teenagers with phones, 11 devices total, all different carriers, all going off simultaneously. Each of us had received a text from Mum's old number, but not the same text. Each message was personalized. To Dad, check the attic of the old house, green box marked Christmas 1979. I saved it for today. I love you, always have, always will. To me, Sarah, honey, you are doing enough. The kids see your effort. Also, check your coat pocket from last night. Little surprise. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. To Rachel. The star goes on last, remember. And yes, Tom should propose to Marcus. Tell him I said so. Love you, baby girl. To Tom, you're not letting anyone down by being yourself. Marcus is perfect for you. Your father will understand. Check Mom's recipe box, the blue card. My love always. To my 16-year-old daughter Emma, named after Mom. You got into Yale. The letter is delayed, but trust Grandma. So proud of you, sweet girl. And similar personal messages to everyone else, including the 13-year-old twins. Here's where it gets absolutely impossible to explain. Dad drove to the old house that morning. The new owners were away for the holidays, but had given him permission to check the attic for some old photos. He found the green box labeled Christmas 1979, their first Christmas as a married couple. Inside were ornaments she'd made by hand, each with a family member's name, including the grandchildren who hadn't been born yet. Not just their names, their birth dates, personality descriptions, even Emma Yale 2024 on hers. In my coat pocket from last night was a sealed envelope with my name in Mom's handwriting. Inside was a letter dated December 24th, 2023, 5 years after her death, detailing things about my life she couldn't have known. My recent promotion, my daughter's college anxieties, my husband's health scare this past October. The paper was aged, the ink faded, but the date was clear. The recipe card Tom found had Mum's coming out advice for him, to a family she feared wouldn't accept him. He'd never told her he was gay. He'd only realized it himself 2 years after she died. The card also contained Marcus's full name and the words, "He's the one." Emma didn't get into Yale. The letter came 3 days later. Full scholarship. But here's the detail that broke us all. Every message ended with a specific instruction. Look for the cardinal at 11:47. At exactly 11:47 a.m., as we were all gathered in Rachel's living room trying to make sense of the messages, a cardinal landed on the windowsill. It tapped on the glass 3 times, Mum's old signal for "I love you" when she could no longer speak. Then it flew away. The messages disappeared from our phones at 11:48. Not deleted, gone. No record they ever existed except in our screenshots, which somehow all corrupted except for one on each device, showing just the last line about the cardinal. The phone company has no record of the messages. Mum's number has been assigned to a business in Texas since 2019. That business was closed on Christmas Day. The forensic data analyst my brother hired found something bizarre. The messages originated from our exact GPS coordinates, but from 5 years in the past. Time-stamped September 12th, 2018, 3:47 p.m., the exact moment Mum died. We've all gone to therapy together since then, trying to process this. The therapist suggested mass hallucination. But how do you hallucinate physical objects? The ornaments, the letter, Emma's Yale acceptance that Mum somehow knew about. My father has moved back into the old house. He says he feels her there, preparing things, setting up moments we haven't reached yet. He found another box last month, labeled Easter 2024. We're afraid to open it. We're afraid not to. Tom did propose to Marcus on New Year's Eve. Marcus said yes. Said he'd been carrying the ring since Thanksgiving, but was waiting for a sign. I think about time a lot now. How maybe it's not linear like we think. Maybe love is strong enough to bend it, to reach through it. Maybe Mum spent her last moments not dying, but preparing. Setting up messages and gifts and moments for the years she'd miss. Or maybe we're all crazy, sharing some grief-induced delusion. But those ornaments are hanging on Rachel's tree right now. Emma's wearing her Yale sweatshirt. Tom's planning his wedding. And every day at 11:47, no matter where we are, we look for cardinals. Sometimes they appear. When they do, something good happens within 3 days. It's been consistent enough that we've started calling it Mom Time. The physicist in my book club says quantum entanglement might allow for information transfer across time and space in ways we don't understand yet. The priest at Dad's church says love transcends death, and we shouldn't question miracles. The skeptic in me says there has to be a logical explanation, but I was there. We all were. And we have the proof, partial, corrupted, but undeniable. Love finds a way, even from 5 years in the past, even from beyond death, even when it should be impossible. Hey, so before we get to the last story in this section, I need to share something that just happened while I was editing these. My phone just auto-corrected the word dead to dear 3 times in a row. Different sentences, different contexts. I type dead all the time for this show. My phone knows the word. But 3 times in succession, it changed it to dear. Is that just predictive text being weird? Or is something trying to tell me to stop thinking of them as dead and start thinking of them as dear? As in beloved, still present, still part of our lives. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but after all these stories about impossible messages, even autocorrect feels suspicious. Anyway, Here's one more before we dive into the historical stuff. Story 12, The Voicemail Time Capsule by Missed Calls from 2019. My husband Ben died in a hiking accident in July 2019. Fell from a trail in Colorado. His body was recovered, but his phone never was, despite extensive searching. It was presumably destroyed in the fall or lost in the river below. I kept paying for his phone line. I know that's probably unhealthy, but I couldn't bear to disconnect it. I'd call it sometimes just to hear his voicemail greeting. "Hey, you've reached Ben. I'm probably outdoors doing something stupid. Leave a message, and I'll call you back when I return to civilization." For 4 years, that greeting never changed. Same message, same recording, from 2017, when he set it up. Then, on October 1st, 2024, I called his number for what I planned to be the last time. I'd finally decided to let the line go. I wanted to hear his voice once more before making the call to disconnect. But the greeting was different. "Hey babe, if you're hearing this, it means you finally decided to let go. That's good. That's what you need to do. But before you disconnect this line, check your voicemail. I left you something. Well, I'm leaving you something. Time is weird here. Anyway, I love you. Always." The password is our anniversary backwards. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely enter the code. 61102 for June 2010. There were 43 new voicemails, all from Ben, all dated different days between July 2019 and October 2024, dates that had already passed, during which his phone was gone and presumably destroyed. The messages were him talking to me about things that happened after he died. August 15th, 2019. "I know you just adopted that cat. Good choice. Name him Schrodinger. He's both there and not there, like me." December 25th, 2019. "Stop feeling guilty about laughing at your nephew's joke today. I want you to laugh." March 10th, 2020. "This pandemic thing is going to be rough. Stock up on toilet paper now. Trust me." September 3rd, 2021. "That guy from your work who asked you out. He's nice, but not the one. Wait for December." December 15th, 2021. "This one. David. He's good. I approve. Don't feel guilty." April 22nd, 2023. "Tell David yes. You deserve to be happy. I mean it." July 18th, 2024. "I'll be at the wedding. Look for the butterfly during your vows." October 1st, 2024. "This is the last one. The connection is closing. Thank you for holding on this long, but thank you more for letting go. Check the coordinates I'm about to give you. There's something there you need to find." The last message was just GPS coordinates, no words. I did adopt a cat in August 2019. Named him Gus, but changed it to Schrodinger after hearing the message. David and I did get married in July 2024. A monarch butterfly landed on our joined hands during the vows. Everyone saw it. The photographer caught it. The coordinates led to a spot about a mile from where Ben fell. Hidden in a crevice was his phone, wrapped in a plastic bag, perfectly preserved. The phone was dead, wouldn't turn on even after charging. When tech recovery specialists got it working, they found it had been recording until October 1st, 2024. 5 years of recording on a phone that should have had a dead battery after 2 days. The recording is mostly silence and static, but throughout, at irregular intervals, you can hear Ben's voice, leaving those exact voicemails. You can hear him talking to me, responding to things I was saying in real time, though I was nowhere near that mountain. The phone company confirmed those voicemails were placed from his number to his own voicemail box, which is technically impossible. The timestamps correspond to moments when I was thinking about him, talking to him in my head, asking for signs. David thinks Ben found a way to reach through time, to be there for the moments he knew I'd need him most. My therapist thinks it's an elaborate hoax, though she can't explain who would do it or how. The paranormal investigator I contacted believes it's evidence of parallel dimensions intersecting. I think love doesn't end with death. It just changes form, finds new channels, discovers impossible ways to say what needs to be said. I had the phone line disconnected after retrieving all the messages, but I kept the phone. Sometimes I turn it on and scroll through our old texts, the ones from when he was alive. And sometimes, just sometimes, there's a new message there. Not sent, just existing in our thread, time-stamped from dates we shared together. This was a perfect day. Remember this moment. I loved you here. Small annotations on our history, like he's going back through our story and adding notes in the margins. David understands. He says he fell in love with me partly because I'm the kind of person who still receives messages from her dead husband and just accepts it as part of reality now. Ben was right. David was the one. Somehow, from wherever Ben is, he knew that before any of us. I don't need to understand the mechanism. I just need to know that love persists, finds a way, reaches through the impossible to deliver what we need when we need it. Even if it takes 5 years and 43 impossible voicemails to do it.